You are listening to the Green Living Chat podcast brought to you by Eco Amit Solutions in Ghana. I'm your host, David. Food waste and food loss have become a very interesting environmental and social challenge. This is mainly due to the large amount of food wasted and lost right from the farmland to our plates. There are several reasons that are contributing to this. Have you thought of the huge amount of vegetables and fruit that you see heaped in the supermarket and you just pick a lot because it was on sale or buy one get one free? Did you realize the amount of food that is wasted in our fridge just because our fridge is huge and we have to fill the space with food? Do you realize the amount of food you waste when you go to the restaurant because you overserved or they add certain things that you don't need or you practically don't eat and just leave them? Where do you think they go? Most of this food waste end up in the landfills, and research has proven that food waste contributes to over 8% of greenhouse gas emissions. But should food actually go to waste? Today, I'm joined by Sudy Yeo, who is the co-organizer of Circular Economy Club in Malaysia. Today, we bring you a little bit twist to our normal podcast episodes. Sudy gives us her report on how circular economy solutions can be applied in the food and beverage industry. It's going to be a very interesting chat, so stick around and listen. Here we go.
Good day, everyone. Today I'm going to share with you how we can look into circular economy solutions in the food and beverage industry, tackling waste and in particularly food waste. My name is Sudy and I'm the co-organizer for the Circular Economy Club in Malaysia with the Petaling Jaya chapter. Thank you very much for your time today. We would like to just share with you what is circular economy and how you can apply circular economy to tackle food waste, especially in your retail outlet. So firstly, what is circular economy? Circular economy is a principle to design a series of ways to keep the resources in a closed loop, to keep all the raw material stream flow with the least energy, as well as at the same time maximizing this resources output while reducing the waste output. So basically we look into three main things here. Firstly, we look into redesign, that is to redesign the products from the very beginning when you're conceiving the product, to use less material and try not to have any source of waste or pollution from it. Then the second part is that you try to keep it in a circulation or a closed loop. That means we remove the take, make and dispose ideology, and now we change it to reuse, return, rent, share, repair, repurpose that material so that we can maximize using it and keep it longer in order to avoid unnecessary purchase, as well as additional new material use, as we cannot continue to generate new resources. Third part, and also the very most interesting part, is actually to maximize the output. In the older terms, it can be repair or repurpose. This is not new because we have been actually doing this. It's just that from the last 10 years, convenience has played a huge role. And so we stop repairing it. Or in circular economy, what we talk about is that we try to reuse it as many times as we can, or we try to repair it so that we don't just create any waste. So even when it is not possible, those products then can be broken down into basic components and then we can remanufacture into new forms through recycling and repurpose. So it's no longer just a linear economy. Circular economy is basically keeping all these waste completely, try to keep it out from the system altogether. So it's no longer just 3R system, which is refuse, reuse, and recycle. Now there are plenty of different ways we can relook into our current consumption or usage and start with redesigning what is our current way and reshift our way of consumption. So the ladder of circularity starts from refuse, that means make a product redundant completely. Rethink, make a product more intensive by sharing the product with more people or by using the product in several ways. Reduce, use fewer raw materials and less energy for the same product. Reuse, obviously, you can reuse of the discarded and functioning products in the same function. You repair, you refurbish, you fabricate, you repurpose, and then only the last two, recycle, and lastly, recover. Why should we act now? To start looking at your waste and to do something about it. We are throwing an enormous amount of rubbish every day, and especially food that is still edible or waste that can be prevented. According to the Food and Agriculture Organization under the United Nations, the global volume of food wastage is estimated at 1.6 billion tons. The total food wastage for the edible parts is amounted to about 1.3 billion tons. And all these are all thrown away cumulatively by all of us, you and me, in Asia, in everywhere. Anyway, food waste, it is a real problem by itself because 95% of our rubbish then goes to the landfill or waste dump site. And the implication from the landfill is another big problem. As food are being decomposed in our landfill, it produces about 50 to 60% methane gases and up to 40% carbon dioxide. Those methane emissions from landfill represent one of the largest sources of greenhouse gases emission in the world. And a food wastage carbon footprint is estimated at 3.3 billion tons of CO2 equivalent of greenhouse gases released into the atmosphere per year. And we can avoid that easily. So that's why it is very important that we start to act on our own, and we should not add more fuel, we should not throw more food. Apart from on an environmental concern, managing your food waste also brings you extra benefit. For example, due to the impact of this COVID right now, we really have to look into our expenses and reduce what is unnecessary to stay in the business. So these circular economy solutions can actually help you to stay sustained in the long run, as it offers you a unique selling point to your customers, not only good for the environment, but also a competitive advantage over your competitors. The younger generations also are more concerned about the environment, so they want to support the business that are environmentally friendly and practicing proper food waste management reduction. So circular economy solutions, or what I'm going to present to you today, not only that it will help to reduce the environmental impact that's created from your retail waste, but also there are plenty of different other benefits that can help you. For hotels and for bigger conglomerate, these solutions also, what I'm going to present to you here, is going to also help you to achieve some of your UN SDG goal. For example, goal 12.4, which is fighting for hunger. And also if you practice composting the food waste, then you are also, if I'm not mistaken, goal 13 as well. Food waste, it is not just food being wasted. Every time food is wasted, water, energy, time, manpower, land, fertilizer, fuel, packaging, apart from money put into growing, preparing, storing, transporting, and cooking the food is also wasted. So in short, reducing food waste will help you to stop wasting money and a host of other resources as well. So let's start looking at what you can do to reduce food waste. Our aim here is to divert as much food waste away from landfill and to obviously reduce it and to individually act on it. The following I'm going to share with you is how a commercial setting, especially hotel, restaurant, and cafe, can reduce food waste by changing and implement some ideas that you can adopt here. Some of the suggestions here also can be used at home. So there are 3 phases to work on. The first phase is what I call it material flow auditing. So this is where you need to know where your waste come from and what is the volume. So we measure your waste volume and do a tiny little small audit. This is very important, especially if you run a food and beverage retail, because you need to know if your rubbish comes from the front side or your counter or from your kitchen or from your storage area. The next part, the second phase, is then we look into all the different opportunity that I'm going to share with you. And then you develop what I call an opportunity map to look into how you can then reduce this food waste using the data that you have collected. Here, you can also set targets, time scale, responsibility, and assignment to each of your staff, who to do what, and stuff like that. So the second part, you need to sit with your kitchen team and identify where and what you can prevent, reduce, recover, reuse, and repurpose it before you send it away. The third part is where, after you have identified all this opportunity and when you start implement it. So I create the action time. And action time is basically just, my recommendation is to implement it stage by stage and get all your staff to buy in the idea and work together to manage it. So firstly, we need to know where the waste comes from. Food waste usually comes from a variety source, especially in the food and beverage industry. So it could be spoiled or out of that food from your peeling and trimmings, okay? Inedible byproducts, kitchen error, or plate waste. So it comprehends from 3 main areas, which is food preparation, spoilage, and custom plate, front, end, and back. So according to the Hotelier.com, food preparation accounted for 45% and spoilage is about 20%. And ironically, customer plate waste accounted about a third. I'm not sure whether that statistic apply in your country, but that's roughly an idea for you. And if you run a buffet business model, then your plate waste, customer plate waste may be even higher. And that is very true, especially in my country. So apart from that, overproduce, overstock, and excessive food display also lead to food waste. So even if in the best run kitchen, there's always some food waste left. The priority here is to reduce the amount of the food waste in your property and before you consider how to best dispose it. So what we need to know is then, firstly, where it comes from. So you need to track, you can come up with like a simple Excel sheet where it's about 3 columns, split into 3 different segments, which is spoilage, preparation waste, and customer plate waste. And then what you do is you separate and monitor all these food waste from these 3 different waste stream, and you weigh the amount in kilo, or you record the number of times you have to refill the bin each day, and then you estimate or you gauge where it really comes from. Why this is important is that then we can look into where we can tackle this opportunity when you run the phase 2. And usually for food waste auditing, you just need about 3 days measurement. You can also randomly do about a week measurement, which day is the peak day where you have more waste and which day you have less waste. Those can be, data is always very important for us. So the more you can understand about where your waste come from, the easier it is for you to do the second phase. After you do all this measurement, record it down, then you now sit with your kitchen team and you are now able to develop an opportunity map to manage this. So there are plenty of different opportunities that you can tap into. And I'm going to share with you what we call it a ladder of security for food waste management. It comprises of 3 main segments. Firstly is obviously prevention. Secondly is reduction. And then the third part is what are we going to do with the waste that we cannot prevent and reduce. Firstly, we're going to talk about prevention. Where can you prevent your food waste? You can, firstly, that's actually the most important part, is that we want to prevent as much food being wasted in the first place. So food stock is actually one of the most common area where we can easily prevent food being wasted, because food stock itself is actually the second highest expenses in our F&B operation, and therefore it is very important that we have a detailed stock inventory. And I'm very sure that most of you already have a proper one. It will help you to only buy the ingredient that you know you need it and you will use it. So it is very tempting for us to stock up or buy in bulk, especially when our supplier has a good deal. But sometimes by doing so, it only leaves us with more food than we need. And sometimes we need to make a loss from this deal. So by preventing it that way, one way we can do is be more sweet with our prices and to run also a promotional deal to sort of like entice more customers to come in and finish our food for us. Well, that's one example. So it is very important exactly which food we have in stock at all time. That means keeping a detailed list of food in all our storage area, including the use by or best before date, so that you can actually easily refer to it, and it will avoid those food being forgotten or going to waste. One essential stocking rule is that best practice is to do your stock tagging every day at the same time, so that you avoid a fluctuation in your opening as well. The second part we need to touch on is store your food correctly. Make sure that your fridge and freezers are running at the right temperature. Okay, they are being well maintained as well. Okay, food are stored in the right packaging and labeled with dates. Ensure that all the low risk food are stored on a higher shelf than the high risk food. Keep the storage area obviously clean and tidy, avoid any bacterial growth and anything like that. And obviously we should also try to do practice first in, first out, pay attention to the expiry date. So labels are very, very important, and you can actually buy those stickers from internet, or you can homemade your own stickers with different color pen to identify which day do you actually store this, freeze your food, and which day must it be used. And color coding can be very, very handy in this case as well. So if you run a small kitchen and you don't have all these stock sheets or stuff like that, you can easily find them online and print your own and just stick it in front of your fridge. It's actually one of the easiest way. The other way you can also prevent food waste is actually be aware of this oversized food portion or jumbo side dish. Sometimes quality is very much definitely preferred than quantity. In 2012 study, it's actually a study done, and they found out that a quarter of the people actually leave some food at the end of their meal, and it's usually chips or French fries or side salads, because they consider that as an extra part of their main meal that they did not ask for. And so they don't really finish their meal, that's it. And there are people like that. So what we serve, sometimes we need to observe as well, and sometimes it's really consider, maybe, you know what, I don't need to put this extra leaf of vegetable here, I can avoid it. Over serving of food is also a cause, and you can avoid. So best way is to ask your chef to look at the plate waste and identify what are the common food your customer left behind, and work on reducing or removing those instead. One other option that you can also look into is to relook into your ingredients and avoid ingredient that only uses in one dishes, or ingredient that is a lot fast expiry, like tofu or blue cheese. Tofu expired within less than a day, so you must use it, or either that's it, you have to end up throwing it away. So if you can avoid those kind of ingredient, that will be the best, because you avoid throwing it away. And if those customers don't frequently order that dish as well, you may also likely end up with that fast expiry problem of that ingredient. So there are other also ideas that you can consider, which is to sell your overstock as a fresh produce in your cafe. It's getting popular right now. The cafe also sells some of their fresh produce. You can also sell a ready-to-cook box. So you pack them up all into one box and tell them to bring it home and cook it themselves. You can also consider grow your own tiny little herbs garden if you use a lot of herbs, and like basil are very easily to grow, and they are very easily to grow with your trimmings, especially like onion, ginger, mint. Very easy to grow, so you can find a lot of tips from internet that you can grow your own little herb garden as well. And so first it saves you money from buying it, and save you the trouble to throw it away after that. Not all food waste can be prevented, so no matter what we do, we still have kitchen waste or some waste from our daily operation. So what we can do next is to look into reduction, how to optimize your food waste through 4 different options. The first option is donate it. The second option is to resell it. The third option is to reuse or to repurpose it. And the fourth optimization option that you can consider is to send it to the animals. The first one we're going to talk about now is how do you optimize your food waste by donating it. So I'm not sure about in your country, but here in Southeast Asia, there's a lot of food banks or local charity that run a food recovery program, and you can actually set up a link with them and donate any of your leftover food meals or ingredients to the people who desperately need them. You can also set up a link with a food bank, so optional local charity or local food bank. This will ensure that your leftover food goes to a good home rather than complete waste. If you don't have a food bank or a food rescue NGO to work with, you can also look into these ideas where, say for example, in Thailand, villages and urban communities actually build their own food bank by compromising items like instant noodle, canned food, rice, and stuff like that. They built basically a box and left it there with signs saying that feel free to donate your leftover and feel free to take whatever you need. So since the lockdown, this pantry of sharing has been sprung up to about 44 provinces across Thailand, and more than 150 cabinets or boxes has been built. And there are other options like set it up on your own. Like there's a few small little cafes here in Malaysia where they basically just put a box in the corner and put all these short expiry ingredients inside the box. in their premises, and they just ask their patrons to take it. So all you need is just basically a kind heart initiation from your side, a box, and a sign. There are also some really cool ideas globally what people has done to optimize their food waste. In Hong Kong, there's an organization that organizes participants to go and pick up all these food waste and deliver them while running in the streets. It's called Bun Run. It's a bit like a hash run, but instead of running in the jungle, now they're running in the city and into the shopping malls and help organization in a more meaningful way, which is very interesting. Second part on the optimization is to redistribute it by reselling it. If your food is still good to eat, you can also opt to sell it, and this is especially common, especially for bakery and pastry items. There are few mobile phone app and NGOs that are actually going around to redistribute by reselling it at a lower price. For example, apps like Too Good To Go, it's available mainly in Europe, I think about 14 countries or more. There's another one called Karma. It has about 1 million users right now. Olio is also very interesting. It's gaining momentum here in Asia. So in return, you connect your restaurant to a new segment of customers who are looking for edible and short expiry food at a lower price, while allowing you to recover something from your food surplus. This may be an offer for you to recover something for your business, but it also provide a very good discounted meal to those low income people and especially those a lot of them who has lost their job during this pandemic. There are also quite a few groups in Facebook, if I'm not mistaken, that's run by kind individual or small startup company that actually do redistribute the food as well. So that's the other option. So let's have a look at Too Good To Go. Too Good To Go is actually now one of the fastest growing apps globally. It rescues unsold food, and maybe you can check it out.
So that's it for today's episode. I hope that this one has been a very educative one, and definitely people are going to apply this. This is very applicable in our homes, in industry, in the hotels, in restaurants, and everywhere that you find yourself. On the next episode, we are still going to continue our chat with Sudy, and we are going to continue about the reuse and repurpose optimization practices that we can employ in our households, hotels and restaurants, and everywhere food waste occurs. See you on the next episode. Until then, live green.